Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, this is number 3 of the projections from the subconscious mind. And today we're going to be talking about presence. Presence is not something you can feel as much as not something you can see or hear or talk about, but it's something you feel. It's a projection of attitude, really, and we all project. Some project negative, some project sour, some project sweet, some project caring, some people project humor, some people project sourness. As many as there are people, there's that many projections basically, and it's all based upon projection of attitude. What is a person's attitude and how is it projected in what you feel when you come into their presence? Well, we choose to deal with people and relate to people based on what we feel when we come into their presence. There's some people you just don't like and can't make yourself like. They're just not my kind of person. There's just something about them that turns me off. And then there's others that you fall in love with the moment you say hi. See their smile and their positive countenance and whatever attracts you. And all of a sudden you have a new friend and you just strike it off and you're together. The ability to relate to anyone, anywhere, anytime, which is what we're all about here, is to read people's presence, understand what causes that presence, and then relate to them based upon that cause. Because if I can understand why you're a little bit cool, or why you're so outgoing, or why you ask so many questions, or why you frown when I say certain words, that helps me relate more effectively to you. If I can understand all those things. Read and react. It's a thing that we do in life. We read and then we react. And to be able to read things that are of high value to you when I'm relating to you allows me to establish a highly successful, productive relationship. If I have difficulty relating to your values, then everything I say is opposite of what you believe to be true or believe to be important. And so all of a sudden, as a salesperson, I'm striking out. I'm losing more sales than I'm making. And as a manager, I can't get people to do what I want them to do. And we end up in fusses, we end up in spats, and we end up calling names and all those negatives. Talked to a lady this past week who works for a company, and the management, all of them that she knows in her department anyway, or in her division, yell at people all the time. They don't talk, they yell. And use negative words. And they wonder why there's such a high turnover in personnel in that department. Well, you can only take so much of that. And pretty soon it starts feeling like you're getting beat up every day. Who wants that? I'd rather go on unemployment than get beat up by some jerk who is building himself or herself up by putting me down. And that's basically it. It's normally it's a defense mechanism for those people because people don't like them anyway, so why do I care? Well, the fact is they can be very likable. They could be a person who people would respond positively to if they change their own attitude about how they treat others. So we want to talk about presence, the projection of atmosphere created by your body chemistry and your attitude. So it's an attitude check time. When you meet a new person, you normally take about 5 minutes to find out who they think they are. Find out whether you are comfortable with them or not, whether you like them or don't, whether they're your kind of people. And that projection that they are projecting is an attitudinal projection based upon inner motivations and psychological makeup and value systems, going back to their values. So we've made decisions often in our life where we just don't like that person. Don't really know why, but there's something about them I just don't like. Well, the problem with that is that person might need your liking, might need your support, might need your blessing, so to speak. And you might need some of their talents and some of their skills and some of their knowledge and some of the things that they bring to the mix also. Why should we lose all of that goodwill and all of that good relationship information simply because you're not my kind of person? To be a really good salesperson, you have to be all things to all people. You have to be able to relate to them based upon their value system. And you need to read their presence to determine how you're going to relate to that person today. Because understand, you might have an appointment with somebody today that you had an appointment with last week, but they're not going to be the same person exactly when you meet with them today. And you, as a salesperson, have had that happen to you already. You walk in the door expecting them to be the same person, and they're not. All of a sudden, they have a different inner motivation. Remember the 5 motivations? They've gone from maybe relator to appraiser, or maybe relator to exasperator, since you saw them last, based upon circumstances and situations in their life that have moved them. People move. They don't stay the same constantly, and so the ability to relate to people where they are this day, this mood, this attitude, this value system today will determine how consistent you will be and how productive you will be. Most sales are lost because the salesperson did not build value based upon the client's value system. It sounds so simple, and it is fairly simple. The problem is most salespeople are not trained to read values, and then secondly, even if they have hit on them once in a while, they're not consistent with it. I've had salespeople double and triple their closing ratio by learning to relate to people's value system, reading their presence. What are they projecting, and what does that projection tell you about their value system? For instance, a person who projects a warm, outgoing personality, a warm presence that kind of pulls you in, that person probably has a lot of love motivation, quite a bit of relator, maybe even some appraiser, and you need to deal with at least those top 2 motivations. So that person's telling you, here's how you make your presentation to me. Here's how you relate to me. If you can't relate to me this way, you probably will not be successful with me. 1 out of 5, that's closing ratio, national closing ratio according to Department of Labor, and that's really low. That's only 20%. That means for every 5 people you meet, 4 get away and buy from somebody else. It's not that they're, and we're talking about qualified prospects. We're not talking about people who end up not buying anything. We're talking about people who buy from somebody else. And turnover in personnel, 56% turnover in personnel annually. That's pretty high, and I really believe from our own research that most turnover in personnel is caused by management rather than employees, rather than poor employees who don't want to work It's managers who beat up on them. They get tired of getting beat up on and say, I'm out of here. Find somebody else. So with a positive, we project a positive attitude. With a negative, we project a negative attitude. Reading the positive or the negative and then dealing with it is what leadership is really all about. So a good salesperson will read a negative projection and start asking questions that we talked about in earlier lessons, asking questions that give feedback of what's bothering this person and deal with what's bothering them and lift them above what's bothering them. Now, all of a sudden, you're their hero. You're the answer to their negative feelings. They don't like feeling negative. Nobody does. We don't want to go around feeling like we're being beat up. But to have somebody who recognizes what's bothering us and lift us above that with the product or service they offer, or the management style that they project, creates a tremendous positive relationship. And now all of a sudden you're one of my favorite people in the world because you make me feel good. You make me feel like I'm alive. You make me feel like there's hope. You make me feel like there's some people who care. You're one of them. Dress and appearance tell you a lot about people. Because our presence is based upon our total presentation of who we are as a person. And you know, I'm an old dude and wear ties and shirts and suits and so on. But I can relate to people who are wearing today's dress, wearing the uniform of the day, and can understand where they're coming from based upon what they wear. We were just talking here in the room about colors and how some colors make you look great and some colors actually make you look washed out. Your face disappears. Your nose goes inward instead of outward. And all of that because of the color shirt you're wearing or suit or whatever you're wearing. So dress and appearance is vitally important in management and in sales to present yourself with the most positive presence and appearance you possibly can. Some people get a little sloppy with that, and it to most people it shows a lack of caring, and also in many cases a lack of respect. If you were to meet an important, very important person today, you'd probably dress up. You'd probably wear some of your finer clothes. Well, if you're meeting a client, a prospect, working with an employee, they should be pretty valuable to you also, because that's something that's an ongoing relationship and determines how successful you're going to be. Language and communication skills are something that we need to constantly be working on, because being able to tell the story, whatever the story is, in a way that people we're talking to can relate to it is vitally important if we're going to be productive and effective. Attitude determines chemistry, and chemistry determines what people feel, what's projected and what they feel when they come into your presence. And you want to be projecting positives that attract charisma instead of a negative feeling. Fears can be felt. Somebody projects fear and you can feel their fears. And, you know, dogs bite people who are afraid of dogs. Cats will run from people who are afraid of cats. And people will run from you if you're projecting fear. So what are they sensing when they come into your presence? Incidentally, you control this. This is not something that just happens. It's something you control and you program. So your prospects are reading you from the moment they meet you. making decisions, and in 5 minutes they're going to make a final decision about whether they can trust you or not. Employees, try the air first thing in the morning. What do you know about the boss? Yeah, I had a bad night. He's growling. That's the kind of talk goes on in the workshops of the world. And employees are concerned. What is the boss's attitude today? You have to project positives in order to elevate and lift people above their own problems and their own fears and so on. So attitude creates first impressions. First impressions cause breakdown in relationships or building relationships. Desire to get to know you or desire to stay as far away from you as possible. Impressed with you or not impressed. It's all based upon first impressions, because as long as you can stay indecisive about a person when you meet somebody is 5 minutes, and then you'll make a decision, positive or negative, like them, don't like them. And as a result, then you carry that out in everything you do. Well, in sales, that's vitally important, and in management also. So keep that in mind as you choose to project attitudes and project what you're thinking on a given day or given hour or given minute. 4 things control your body chemistry, which in turn control what you project in atmosphere, or presence as we call it. You literally project an atmosphere that dogs can sense, bees will sting people who are afraid of bees, horses will throw people who are afraid of horses, and people will set up defense mechanisms or psychological blocks. If you're projecting negatives, count on it. So your employees are going to fuss at you, and your prospects are going to walk away based upon what you're projecting. And the interesting part about this is you have total control. You don't have to have a bad day. It's a choice. So there's, 4 things that control your body chemistry, and your body chemistry creates the atmosphere. Number 1 is the foods you eat. Eating right foods, and you will project a positive atmosphere. Proper rest. If you don't get enough sleep, people will sense it. Well, you're dragging today, aren't you? Number 3 is exercise. Do you get exercise? You need to keep the blood flow. You need to keep your muscles taut and vibrant. And in so doing, you project an energy field that is positive and attractive to people. The 4th projection is attitude. Your attitude will either attract or distract, build or tear down. And you project your attitude with everybody you meet, every hour of the day, from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed. So you got to be at your best at 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon when blood sugar's running a little low. You've got to be at your best when you have a 7 o'clock appointment with a couple offering your services or your products. You got to be at your best. And how do you consistently do that? Well, these things: good nutrition, good rest, good exercise, and right attitude. If you have those 4 things going for you, I don't care what time of the day it is that I meet you, I'm going to be attracted to you. I'm going to be impressed with you as a person. Your charisma is going to work for you, because we all have charisma. Sometimes we bury it in bad attitudes, and that serves you right. Ha ha ha. Don't do that. If you're having a bad day, everyone knows it, including yourself. So how can you control your body chemistry that determines your presence? Determines whether you have lost sales or complete sales, good productivity and good working relationships or broken relationships. You control your body chemistry by controlling your attitude, your value system, and projecting positive attitudes about those things in your world that you have control of and those things in your world that you don't have control of, and knowing the difference. There's some things you just have to accept. Might not like them, but you have to accept them because you have no control. You don't have the authority to change that. On the other hand, there's things you do have control of, and you need to be very, very conscious of the control factor of using rather than abusing attitudinal projections based upon your attitudes and your inner thought processes and the presence you project. Be sweet. Project a sweet presence, a perfume when you walk in the room.